Sibling rivalry has been a tried and true source of conflict in fiction for decades. Just because you share flesh and blood with someone doesn't mean you're always going to see eye to eye. And if there's one character who knows this all too well, it's Daria Morgendorffer. Over the course of her eponymous MTV series, Daria was almost constantly at odds with her younger sister Quinn. Popular, anti-intellectual, and often obnoxiously superficial, Quinn represents just about everything Daria detests about the culture she's raised in. But while the show often revels in having Daria ridicule Quinn for this, it also takes the time to really examine why Quinn behaves the way she does, and the role her family life played in shaping that persona. When you really peel back the layers, you start to realize that Quinn Morgendorffer isn't nearly as shallow as she'd have you believe.
It's fake.
Aw, you got a tattoo to match your personality.
When Daria premiered in 1997, one of the very first things the show established was the dynamic between the Morgendorffer sisters. Daria is cynical, antisocial, and more than a little abrasive. By her own admission, she's someone who deliberately tries to make people dislike her, skipping right to the rejection and abandonment that is, in her mind, an inevitability. Conversely, Quinn is a social butterfly who has absolutely no trouble making friends. When the girls arrive for their first day at Lawndale High, she immediately jumps to the top of the school's social hierarchy.
What's your name?
Quinn Morgendorffer.
Cool name.
Will you go out with me?
Not only that, but Quinn is willing to be pretty terrible to Daria in order to maintain her social status. A running joke throughout the show's first 4 seasons is Quinn refusing to let anyone at school know that she and Daria are actually sisters, instead telling everyone they're distant cousins who just happen to live under the same roof. To be fair though, Daria's not exactly a Sister of the Year finalist either.
Frankly, Quinn, I don't give a crap.
But just who are these friends that Quinn is so desperate to impress? Well, they're the Fashion Club, a group of girls whose principal concerns are spending way too much money on clothes, getting guys to take them on expensive dates, and judging anyone who doesn't live up to their fashion standards, which is to say, pretty much everyone.
Ugh, stretch pants. Everywhere, stretch pants.
They also kind of secretly despise one another. The passive aggression is really thick here, particularly between Quinn and club president Sandy, sort of a proto-Regina George type character.
I guess Brent asked you while he was waiting to hear back from me. You know, using you as his safety date.
But you'll notice that I didn't list academics as being among the Fashion Club's priorities, and therein lies one of the main reasons Daria is so resentful of Quinn. The fact that she puts all her attention into fleeting things like fashion, good looks, and high school popularity, all while neglecting the things that might actually help her succeed in the long run. But when you look at the context of when Daria came out, it makes a lot of sense why Quinn would conduct herself in this manner.
Their sunny 60s optimism tends to cancel out my bitter 90s cynicism.
At the beginning of the show, Daria is a high school sophomore, while Quinn is a freshman. If we take the show as starting in 1997, that means they both would have been born in the early 1980s. So while Daria and Quinn would technically be considered elder millennials, they also would have grown up in the thick of a lot of Gen X culture. And one of the hallmarks of the 90s Gen X attitude was the notion that caring was not cool, that trying was pointless and geeky. In certain social circles, such as Quinn's, openly putting effort into your schoolwork could be considered social suicide.
That like brain is your sister?
Are you a brain too?
On the surface, Daria has no qualms about being labeled a brain, and will often even rub it in people's faces out of spite. She doesn't care if it makes her an outcast, ostensibly anyway. Quinn is different though. Even if you strip away the shallowness and superficiality, she's just an inherently more social person than her sister. She thrives on being well-liked and outgoing, so from her perspective, Daria's approach to navigating high school just is not an option. Granted, Daria does kind of buy into that Gen X attitude as well, just in different ways. She does exceptionally well in the classroom, but shows little interest in going above and beyond outside of it. She can't let people think she's trying too hard after all. Still, the disparity between her and Quinn is very apparent.
What is that?
My people call them books.
On that note, this show subtly does a great job at illustrating how growing up in the exact same environment can sometimes shape people in dramatically different ways. Take, for instance, Daria's best friend Jane Lane and her older brother Trent. These two were raised by fairly neglectful parents who never paid much mind to what they were doing, nor enforced any kind of structure in their lives. While this made Jane fiercely independent and self-reliant, it made Trent lazy and undisciplined.
I'm always late. That's why I don't wear a watch. They depress me.
Similarly, the culture Daria was born into only reinforced her antisocial nature. Not one to go with the flow, she firmly plants her feet in the face of peer pressure, refusing to compromise who she is in the name of being liked. Quinn, on the other hand, opts for the path of least resistance. And why wouldn't she? Her popularity may have an expiration date, but for the time being, she has a pretty good thing going. She gets to coast through school while people bend over backwards to give her whatever she wants, so why rock the boat?
Hey, Quinn, can I carry your books?
Hey, Quinn, can I carry your pencil?
Hey, Quinn, can I carry your,
Daria and Quinn's specific upbringing also plays a big part in all of this. Something we learn at the very end of the show is that they've had this diametrically opposed dynamic for literally their entire lives. What's more, Daria's misanthropic tendencies caused her a lot of problems at school when she was a little kid, which in turn put a lot of stress on her parents.
Try talking to the other kids.
They don't say anything that interests me.
I talk a lot to the other kids and they talk back.
And while Quinn may have been a bit too young at the time to consciously remember a lot of these moments, they no doubt affected her on a subconscious level, reinforcing the idea that her approach is the better one. Daria, meanwhile, feels vindicated in her own lifestyle when she sees some of the vapid jerks Quinn surrounds herself with.
Under no circumstances will the fashion club accept applicants with stubby fingertips.
All that in mind, it should come as no surprise that Daria was not happy when Quinn started encroaching on her territory. I'm of course talking about the season 2 episode, Quinn the Brain. When Quinn's apathetic approach to school puts her in danger of failing English, she actually puts a modicum of effort into her next essay, and while the end result still isn't particularly great, it's leagues better than what people had come to expect from her. Her teachers and parents shower her with praise, and she embraces her new identity as an intellectual among her friends, something she's able to get away with on account of already being popular, for a while anyways.
Quinn, that's amazing.
Beautiful.
Genius.
This infuriates Daria, who's gotten nothing but straight A's her entire life, received no special praise for it at home, and was actively ostracized for it at school, only to watch her sister suddenly make being smart trendy. It doesn't help that from Daria's perspective, Quinn is nothing but a poser, something even Quinn herself would agree with.
I mean, I really like the way this is getting to Daria, but I'm starting to feel like a phony.
You're starting to feel like a phony?
Daria also reveals that she doesn't really like her identity as the isolated smart girl, but can't bear to see that identity be stolen from her either, because who is she then?
You've earned that resentment. It's your right.
Daria does ultimately restore the natural order by giving Quinn a taste of her own medicine, but the show would once again explore this theme of begrudgingly accepting one's identity just a few episodes later, albeit from Quinn's perspective this time. In the episode Monster, Daria and Jane are given a video assignment for school. They decide to make a movie about shallow teenagers with Quinn as their subject. Daria is fully prepared to put Quinn on blast, juxtaposing the perfect image her sister has curated for herself with the ugliness that can come out when that image is challenged.
By the way, which is my best side? I know they're both good. If you can see any of my pores on camera, I swear I'll kill you.
However, Daria has a change of heart when Quinn finally shows a bit of self-awareness. Quinn admits to Daria that, on some level, she knows the things she and her fashion friends say and do are shallow and unimportant, but she stays in that circle because it's something she knows she can do well, and doesn't really know what she'd do without it. And given what we learned in Quinn the Brain, it's at this moment that Daria almost certainly sees a bit of herself in her younger sister, maybe for the first time.
Hell.
Yeah.
Quinn also confides in Daria that she doesn't like being perceived as stupid, and that brings us to another key aspect of what makes her tick.
Quinn wears superficiality like a suit of armor because she's afraid of looking inside and finding absolutely nothing.
While Quinn is definitely smarter than she lets on, she's worried that she's not as smart as she could or maybe should be. So she simply chooses to lean into what she knows, shallow as those things are. She wants to believe that she has some kind of depth, but is afraid to find out on the off chance that she's wrong. After all, Quinn's personality may be fake to a certain extent, but if you put on a front for long enough, it's gonna become who you actually are eventually.
And one day the mask will be your face.
We really see Quinn grapple with both her intelligence and her superficiality in Daria's first TV movie, Is It Fall Yet?, which aired between seasons 4 and 5. When Quinn gets her pre-SAT results back, she's distraught to learn two things. One, she didn't get a high enough score to get into the party school of her dreams, and two, she got more or less the same score as the other fashion club members. Because of this, Quinn starts to worry that maybe she is nothing more than a dumb, popular, mean girl.
Some other people got almost the same score. People you really thought you could do better than, although for personal reasons you'd rather not name them or say why.
But Quinn shows some initiative when she decides to hire a summer tutor named David, a recent high school grad voiced by Carson Daly. If you're too young to know who Carson Daly is, look up TRL. At first though, Quinn keeps her vapid mask firmly on and almost blows the whole endeavor as a result. She'd rather talk on the phone with her friends about clothes and makeup than go over the material, and David threatens to walk.
But you just said I was bright!
So what? It doesn't matter if you're hell-bent on achieving complete brain atrophy before you're old enough to vote.
Quinn knows she can do better, but is still caving into the societal pressures of the time, insisting she still doesn't really care if she can do better. It's only after Quinn admits that she does care that David agrees to stay, and from this point forward, she actually starts doing very well. Getting Quinn to lower that mask is like pulling teeth, but when she does, she finds that she is capable of breaking out of that box she's put herself in.
And that's how how Randolph Hearst's yellow journalism helped get the U.S. into the American-Spanish War.
Close
The
enough.
Spanish-American War.
This movie really drives home the idea that Quinn isn't like the other fashion fiends at the end of the day. They all decide to give tutoring a try, and one by one, they all drive David away with their self-centered antics.
This toaster's really shiny.
The only one who's able to see it through to the end, the only one who David sees actual promise in, is Quinn. But over the course of the summer, Quinn also starts to fall for David a bit, leading to one of her most vulnerable moments as a character.
I like you.
I like you too.
No, I mean I like you.
Quinn does not ask people out. She gets asked out. She's used to guys literally fighting over her, so it's a double whammy of unfamiliar feelings when Quinn not only asks David out on a date, but gets rejected by him. You see, despite all her progress, David still sees Quinn as being too shallow. He points out that her reasons for getting tutored were pretty short-sighted and not at all indicative of someone who has their priorities in order.
So you'd be able to get into a party school. Talk about a lack of self-esteem. Look at the losers you hang out with.
That said, by no means does David think Quinn is a lost cause. He just thinks she still needs more time to figure out exactly which version of herself she wants to be. And as they part ways, he encourages her to focus on the one they've spent all summer nurturing.
I knew I could do better on the P-stats than them.
Then they. And I'm glad to hear that. It means you're starting to understand your potential. Keep studying and good luck.
Though she probably recognizes that David has a point, Quinn is understandably upset by all of this, and she gets some much-needed reassurance from Daria, who points out that while Quinn does struggle to find her own inner depth, the fact that she's capable of such growth and introspection in the first place proves it must be in there somewhere.
He certainly wasn't what we intellectuals call a totally buff hottie. So if you saw past his looks, you can't be completely shallow.
Quinn's intellectual character arc more or less wraps up in the Season 5 episode Lucky Strike, when the teachers of Lawndale High hit the picket line and Quinn's substitute English teacher immediately outs himself as a raging creep. The job ends up going to Daria instead. So she gets the pleasure of teaching Quinn's class all about Romeo and Juliet, which is actually kind of weird. Quinn is a junior at this point in the show, and Romeo and Juliet is typically part of the freshman curriculum, but whatever.
I think the guy on the cover was wearing tights.
Quinn tries to get Daria to just pass her and her friends when it comes time for the big test, but Daria refuses. And while Daria is definitely annoyed at Quinn for trying to weasel her way out of studying, we do once again see that budding respect, as Daria reminds Quinn that she's not like the others, at least not really. And Quinn finally seems to get the message when she realizes she doesn't need to try anything underhanded, because she already knows the material.
She's at this party he crashes with his friend Mercutio.
Right, the little wooden boy.
No, Dad, he's Romeo's pal.
The funny thing is, Daria actually does kind of take it easy on the class. She gives them their test in the form of a simple essay that anyone with even the most rudimentary grasp on Romeo and Juliet should be able to knock out of the park. Naturally, Quinn passes with flying colors, while the other fashion club members only barely avoid failing. And even that's kind of generous on Daria's part, considering they all apparently plagiarized each other.
A D minus? I should have known Queen would fail us.
I should have failed you too.
Quinn has definitely come a long way since the last time we saw her write an essay, but what makes this episode so important for her isn't that she gets a good grade, it's that she finally drops the years-long charade she's been keeping up since she and Daria first moved to Lawndale.
Why shouldn't I act sisterly towards her? After all, she's my sister.
And obviously Daria and Quinn aren't suddenly best friends after this. They still butt heads, and Quinn still hangs out with the fashion club, even if she makes it clear that she's not gonna put up with too much of Sandy's crap anymore.
You're not turning into a brain, are you?
Sandy, just because someone can answer a simple question doesn't mean they're a pedagogue.
You have to remember that Daria and Quinn have been at odds for about as long as they've been alive. So even as their time in high school winds to a close, there's still a lot of work to be done. But even if Daria and Quinn don't always like each other, they do definitely grow to understand each other over time.
Like a mask you wear because you think they wouldn't like the real you.
You mean sort of the way you keep people away by being really unfriendly and stuff?
And despite all their bickering, they at least seem open to putting in that work. They want to have a good relationship, or at least a better one than they have. On Daria's end, one of the most telling episodes is the season 2 finale, Right Where It Hurts. Here, we find Daria struggling with her own writing assignment where she needs to use real-life people she knows as characters in a fictional story. Daria battles writer's block the entire episode, but finally has a breakthrough when her mother Helen suggests she write about the world she wants to see. And in Daria's Daria's perfect vision of the future, she's an adult who has a happy, healthy relationship with her family, Quinn included. With high school now nothing but a distant memory, they're finally able to let all that resentment and superficiality go and just enjoy each other's company.
Oh, Daddy, I was a stuck-up little nightmare.
It's a shockingly vulnerable moment where Daria admits that, even though she'd never say it to her face, she does want Quinn to stay in her life. The whole thing even brings Helen to tears. Speaking of Helen, though...
Excuse me? The only work I've been doing around here is for you, damn it!
We see that Quinn feels the same way about Daria in the season 5 episode Ant Nauseam. While Helen's sister Rita comes to stay with the Morgendorffers, all hell breaks loose. Helen and Rita have been at each other's throats for about 40 years, so the gloves come off almost immediately. And no one is more upset by all the fighting than Quinn. Well, except for maybe Daria's father Jake, who flies the coop entirely, but Quinn takes it pretty hard as well.
Oh, when will it stop? When?
What's interesting about Quinn's reaction is that amid her distress, she actually tries reaching out to Daria, offering to watch a movie together and even complimenting her in her own Quinn sort of way.
Oh, and did I tell you your hair doesn't look that bad today? Bye.
At first, Daria writes this off as nothing more than Quinn wanting something from her. And while she may come off a bit mean here, it's easy to see why she feels that way. Quinn has absolutely pulled manipulative stunts like this before, but this time is different. Seeing all the nastiness between her mom and aunt close up makes Quinn afraid that she and Daria are going to end up the same way. Fighting for decades over unresolved pettiness from their youth, she wants to extend some kind of olive branch, even if she's not entirely sure how. Fittingly though, Daria and Quinn end up working together to defuse the entire situation, staging a fight that mirrors Helen and Rita's in order to show them what a terrible example they're setting. But while they're only screaming at each other to make a point, you kind of get the impression that Daria and Quinn are actually venting some real frustrations about each other as well.
You're a show-off and a know-it-all.
You just hide in your room like a Kermit.
Mom likes you better.
That's because I call her better.
In the end, though, Daria and Quinn seem to really solidify that mutual understanding, hinting that they're willing and able to break the cycle, even if it won't happen right this second.
You don't think we'll end up having the same fight over and over again for the rest of our lives, do you?
No. We'll use weapons.
Don't say that!
I think what makes Quinn such a compelling character is how much she really mirrors Daria when it comes down to it. They both struggle with the idea of being vulnerable, and they both put up walls because of it. They've just chosen different things to hide behind. They've each constructed a persona that can't really coexist with the other, and this naturally leads to a lot of tension between them. But in those brief moments when they're able to look past those facades and really see each other, they slowly but surely start to realize that they're in the same boat. Daria's central character arc is all about learning to let people in. Quinn's, meanwhile, is about learning to let herself in, to allow for that introspection that she's so afraid of, and learn to be proud of who she really is, not who she feels she has to be.
Well, good night then.
Good night, sis.
Johnny Two Cellos. I stay mellow watching Johnny Two Cellos. He talks cartoons, he's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny Two Cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.